What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Mechanism version 10. And as you guys can probably tell from the title of today's episode, this is going to be the last episode in the series. Now, I know that probably disappoints a lot of you, and honestly, I'm pretty sad about it too, because this has been such a fun series to record. I absolutely love Mekanism, and version 10 has put so much new stuff in to play through that it's just amazing. It's one of my favorite mods, and quite honestly, this might have been my favorite Surviving with series to record to date. So hopefully that says something. I know you guys seem to really enjoy it too. But of course, all good things have to come to an end. We've pretty much covered everything that is offered in the mod over the last 20 some episodes, and that was starting out with those advanced solar generators outside, taking a super convoluted path to make those, and we ended up all the way in the basement setting up the thermoelectric boilers, sodium cooled fission reactors, fusion reactor, and 5 times ore processing. So we've covered everything in between too. We've got all the different multi-blocks, power generation, power storage, all the different machinery that's super convoluted that uses all that power, and it's just been an awesome time. But now I'm recording this video to ask you guys for the same favor that I ask pretty much at the end of every Surviving with series, which is please go into the comments and let me know what mod you want to see for the next Surviving with series that's going to be starting up pretty much right after this one. I'd love to just jump right into it based off the recommendations you guys post on today's episode. Now, on top of that, something new is I do want to ask you guys also for a mod pack recommendation, because it's been requested so much that I do a mod pack playthrough alongside the Surviving with series and have it as a little bit more of an extended series on the channel that goes past, 20 or 30 episodes, which tends to be where the Surviving with series end. So I thought, you know what, let's do it. Both will be running simultaneously and both starting up relatively soon. So please go recommend, your mod pack recommendations, both, neither, it's totally fine. But for anyone who never comments on my videos, you never like them, you're not subscribed, that's totally fine. But if you are ever planning on doing any interaction in any of my videos, please make it this one, because I'd love to hear your opinion on what you want to see. It makes it so much easier for me to put out content that you guys find useful and enjoy. And so please, if you're ever going to do that, go down to the comments now and comment, what mod pack, upvote one that's already posted there, any of that. You guys are always super great about it, and I always really appreciate that. So thank you to all the people who have already done it or plan on doing it. But for the rest of the episode, I'm pretty much just going to be going around doing a little bit of a world tour, going over all the stuff we did, and giving you guys some backstory on either all the math behind it and coming up with all that, or some funny stuff that happened off camera that I maybe didn't want to fess up to when we were recording the episode, because we got to seem all professional because it's supposed to be like a tutorial or something. And, no one needs to know that I really don't know what the heck is going on behind the camera when you guys can't see me. But we're going to be going over all that stuff and basically my overall opinion on the mod as a whole, which, is obviously a glowingly positive review, but there are comments that I have on it that I think could be improved. So we'll go over all of that. Now, obviously, we got to go to where we started, which is right out here. And for the most part, it looks pretty barren. But as always, I have not moved everything inside. This is something that people who have watched other Surviving with series will know. A lot of times, I just stay outside altogether. I'm pretty sure there have been plenty where I don't even make a house. But I've tried to be a little bit better about that, especially in series where there's so much stuff that we have to make, like this one. So we did actually make a house, and it, I think, looks pretty okay. I've leaned a lot more recently towards just large factory-esque houses. I've realized that, obviously, I'm sure you guys know, a lot of the really good modded Minecraft players that you'll see play mod packs end up making their bases just huge open rooms with like lofted ceilings. They'll just dig a hole in the ground that's, 200 blocks by 200 blocks with a ceiling that's like 50 blocks high, so they can just build everything in there. They don't have to worry about, stuff constraining the space or, whatever it may be. And I'm honestly leaning towards that more so, while attempting to make it look at least semi-nice. So we have at least some nice stuff outside, and then we just have a bunch of basements below that to store all the machinery. But when we were still outside, obviously we had all this stuff. And in the first episode, this is something I have to just point out, is that obviously we used the heat generator to get to making the advanced solar generators, because that was the first source of renewable power. My first mistake, should have done the wind generators, right? I should have done that. They're so much cheaper. And yes, I get it. At this Y level, these will generate more power. But obviously, I could have made so many more wind generators for the amount of time and resources I put into one of these solar generators that there was just no reason to do that. And looking back on it, I realized that almost immediately, and it makes me cringe thinking that when people go to the first episode of the series, that's what they see. And then the worst part that honestly, I get sleepless nights over this, is when we had the heat generator, I put coal into it. And obviously that is a manner you can use to generate power, but the better way to do it is to get a bucket of lava and put lava on top of it, because that will passively generate power, and it's super slow. It's crazy slow. But guys, I spent like 2 hours cutting down trees and attempting to mine coal to actually get the amount I needed to make one of these, and it was so horrible. And I should have said that in the video. I didn't even touch on that in the video. So the first video of the series, I forgot all this stuff to do. And honestly, the main reason was I was so excited to actually record the series that I was just like, oh my gosh, let's do this and this and this. And I recorded it and I didn't even think anything about it. And I realized right after, when people started commenting, I was like, oh my God, I messed that up. So yeah, that's a little fun fact about the stuff out there. Now, honestly, in here, my favorite thing, and quite possibly my favorite thing in all of Mekanism, is this setup over here, right? The gas burning generator that burns ethylene. I absolutely love this idea. And a lot of people think it's a little bit overpowered. I think that tends to happen because initially, when the whole mechanic for ethylene was set up, and we even did it in the last Mekanism playthrough, I don't think there were as advanced farms. Maybe there were, but they weren't as common in vanilla Minecraft. And as time has passed, obviously Mekanism does not have automated farming. It's one of the only things that I think is missing, and it honestly might be missing because it would make the ethylene too overpowered. But clearly, you don't need automated farming offered in Mekanism, because you can just do it now in vanilla, super easy, and this thing generates in this little area over like 1,000 melon slices an hour. I'm pretty sure that with this thing running 24/7, we actually gain melon slices overall. I think the storage that we can see downstairs has almost 16,000 extra melon slices, and this never stops running. So this setup is phenomenal, if slightly overpowered, and I think it's something that a lot of people really don't appreciate enough, because I think it's overlooked a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a little bit complicated to set up if you don't really know anything about it, but it doesn't take that many machines. So once you decide to give it the time of day and actually attempt to set it up, it's really not that bad, and it's awesome. So this is basically able to carry you all the way until the fusion reactor. Obviously the fission reactors give you a little bit of power, but not much, and this thing pretty much offers more if you make a good vanilla farm and have a couple setups of machines to generate it. So definitely something I highly recommend, that I think is a lot of the time overlooked when it comes to Mekanism power generation. Now, the other thing that I want to touch on, because we mentioned it, the fission reactor. Oh boy, everyone's got comments on the fission reactor. Obviously, this is new to Mekanism with version 10. This thing is awesome, right? I absolutely love this, and I love all the multi-blocks that Mekanism has added that have super crazy customization options and optimization possibilities. No other mod does it like Mekanism does, and this one is no exception. But my goodness, the fact that at face value, the power is the product and the nuclear waste is the byproduct, yet in actual practice, it is totally reversed, is just so messed up to me. Because obviously, if you've ever played with Mekanism, you know that anything can outclass the fission reactor in terms of power generation. The fusion reactor puts this thing to shame, and it's so much easier to set up than this is, and to run. But you need the fission reactor to run simply for nuclear waste to make plutonium, polonium, and eventually antimatter. And it's a little disappointing to me, because you can put so much time and effort into setting these up, and yet you really don't get that much out of it for the amount you're putting in. When you have the fusion reactor, where you can set that thing up in 10 minutes and it can generate for you, 50 times what these can generate for you. So that's a little bit of a complaint I have. I don't know if there's really any way around that other than maybe nerfing the fusion reactor, which of course everyone agrees needs to be done. But at the same time, when you're playing in a mod pack, sometimes it's fun to have infinite power, and get it really easily. But still, I definitely think that it overshadows things that are super cool, like this fission reactor right here. And yeah, so that always disappointed me a little bit. Now, for things downstairs, first I want to show you guys right over here, just a quick comment on how much extra melon slices we have. Right, 15,250. So that's absurd. But honestly, I love the QIO system. Everyone on the video commented about how applied energistics is better or refined storage is better. And look, guys, I understand that there are other options, but for a mod like this that includes everything else, I am very impressed that it's better than a lot of those standalone mods, or it's not better, but it's comparable in a lot of aspects to those other standalone mods. I think this is a great addition to Mekanism. I think a lot of these well-rounded mods need better storage options, and this one is it because, it's effective. And honestly, if you guys didn't know, on the Mekanism Discord, they've actually released sort of like test videos and screenshots of what will be hopefully in an upcoming update soon, where you actually do have crafting options in the grid here. And obviously that is one of the biggest complaints and differences between this thing and stuff like applied energistics or refined storage, where you have to pull everything out to craft it and you can't just shift click it in here. But the ability to do that is, they're looking to add it very soon, and it looks really promising. The ability to open up, multiple crafting windows in here too. So it looks really cool. Stay tuned for that. And that was really one of the biggest complaints people had. So it's great that they're addressing that and adding it in. And I really look forward to it. So that is an awesome set of news. And really the last thing I want to touch on is the stuff down here. I mean, this is the stuff that makes Mekanism what it is. These are the huge multi-blocks, the crazy things that you can set up. Obviously, the 5x ore processing is absurd. This thing intimidates a ton of people, but it is crazy fun to set up, and you really do get a lot of, reward for the time and effort that you clearly will have put in to actually get this thing going. I don't know. I love this stuff. A lot of people will think that it's too much, but I think the coolest thing is when you have all these machines and they're feeding into each other and doing all these different things, and you eventually get it working and you can be so proud of yourself. And that's what Mekanism does. When you get this stuff set up, you give yourself a pat on the back because it's not that simple to do. And honestly, that's why I'm able to make videos on it, is if it was easy to do, no one would need to watch videos. So honestly, I guess it's good for all of us because we can have fun, we can make videos, we can watch videos on it, and we can be really proud when we eventually finish setting that stuff up. But the main thing I want to touch on too, and this is, I speak from, I'll say professional experience, but for those of you who do not know, oh my gosh, it's almost 2 years ago now, got my degree in chemical engineering. And in a lot of the videos, I try and at least give little anecdotes when mod authors do a really good job of, giving examples of real life engineering and physics and stuff like that in their mods. And I have to say that out of all the mods, Mekanism has done it best. Now, the reason I say this is specific to actually one class, and that is my Thermodynamics 2 class, which I took, I believe, junior year of college. Super hard teacher. She was super mean. Everyone hated her. But in that class, the idea was you learn about all these different systems, things like reactors, things like, ways to transfer heat, like the boiler, turbines, all these different things. And in the end, the goal was that you could create a closed system and evaluate it for all these different variables of heat transfer, energy transfer, mass transfer, whether it's, gases, liquids, solids, whatever it may be. You had to evaluate it for all these different variables in a closed loop system. And for those of you who don't know, that means that you just have a bunch of these linked basically like in a circle. They're sending stuff from one to another and back, and it's a loop. And so the idea of that is shown actually right here. And I think this is a great way, especially for people who are a little bit younger, which I know a lot of my audience is, but are interested in things like engineering, which is a great field to get into. This is a great sort of entry point for them to get a brief overview. It sounds silly because it's a video game and it's Minecraft, but I'm telling you right now, it is. The idea of having certain heating rates based on heat transfer. I mean, looking at these stats, the different, surface areas and the heat capacity and the, adjusting the burn rate with the different heating rates and all those different things. And especially getting all the math to line up. This is a great thing for people to see. And it's very close to what I learned as a junior chemical engineering student. And so I understand the math is complicated. People in the video told me, they didn't even understand the math. They had to watch it multiple times, slow it down. A lot of times I forget and I go too fast, realizing not everyone went to school for this. But I want to tell you right now, what we're looking at right here is about one system off what the hardest question on my final exam was for that class. So learning how to optimize all of these to feed into each other, making sure the math works out properly with the heating rates, the heat transfer rates, the condensing it and feeding it back to make a closed loop system, and making sure the heat transfer occurs properly so there's no overheating and a reactor meltdown. And all of that is just, it's really good for people to learn that are interested in that space. And the fact that Mekanism offers that and does it in such a realistic way is honestly astounding to me. And obviously there's a little bit of code issues here and there, not issues, but with, the internal buffers. But I have seen the mod author's portfolio of work that he's done. It is extremely professional. He is phenomenal at what he does. I'm absolutely positive there's a reason for it. And other than that, it's a perfect example of real world stuff in terms of the mathematic calculations and how you balance it all out. So I love this mod for that. It's phenomenal. I know I just rambled on about that for a really long time, but I'm sure other people who study things like different, STEM fields and know about this also appreciate it for what it is. And it is one of the most accurate recreations I've seen about how you would do closed loop systems as an engineer. And that's phenomenal. Kudos to the mod author for that. It's just great. I love it. And I honestly have never found a mod that I like more for that reason. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is this bad boy right here. The awesome looking, overpowered bombshell of a reactor. This thing is so overpowered, it's almost hysterical. But you know what? Part of me hopes it never changes. Obviously, mod packs now are taking the initiative to nerf things in Mekanism. I get tons of comments from people that say, oh my God, the recipe's not the same as yours. I can't generate as much as yours, all this different stuff. And my first question is, what mod pack are you playing? Right? Because every mod pack now nerfs this stuff. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the mod pack, creators have to go in, I assume, and edit the config files and, nerf this because it's so overpowered compared to other mods. And a lot of stuff in here is, but honestly, I think having this as an option is great because a lot of the time it's kind of fun to play the game like you're in creative, but not being creative. Having infinite power, not having to worry about it, that's pretty awesome. Being able to run a ton of machines and do some crazy stuff if you want to, that's great. And having the fusion reactor to get you there is even better. It's a great stepping stone to being able to mess around with things like, crazy ore processing setups and stuff like that. If power would normally be a constraint, and you wouldn't set this up otherwise, well, it's great to have that there so that you can do that. Obviously, you need it for things like the supercritical phase shifter, but just in general, in mod packs and stuff like that, I definitely think that it could be toned down a bit. But this thing gets a lot of hate from people, and I can understand why. But personally, I enjoy it for what it is. And that is that it is just a flaming, overpowered piece of machinery that I think looks super cool and has been one of the staples of Mekanism since this mod was created. As long as I can remember Mekanism, this was there. And it's one of those things that if you ever go on Reddit and see people asking about power generation in mod packs, you will always see a comment that says the Mekanism fusion reactor. So I just think that's a comical thing. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the episode. I know I rambled a lot there and probably sounded a little bit weird about the engineering part, honestly. So I apologize if that bothered people. But in general, this is a great mod. If you have not played through with this mod on your own, I would say you should. It's one of the best mods that I've ever seen made in modded Minecraft, and kudos to all the people who have worked on it over the years to make it. And hopefully, there'll be a future update. Give me version 11 because we'll be making another one of these series, doing all this stuff over again and then some when that comes out. So if there is one you guys know for a fact that's going to happen, I'm saying it right now, feel free to link back to this video at this exact moment if it ever happens to tell me we're doing it. But obviously, we got to move on to some new stuff. We got to get some new information out there because we have absolutely squeezed this mod dry. But I had an awesome time in this series, guys. It's been a ton of fun. The support you guys have shown has been amazing, so I really appreciate that. And one last reminder, if you have not gone and commented the mod pack, either that you want to see or both, please go do that now or upvote one of the comments so that we can get a good consensus on what we should do, and we can jump right into it in less than a week. Hopefully I can have the first episode out for you guys. So that's going to be it. Closing off the Mekanism series. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you later.
Standing in a glass bowl at the end of a black cold lost and upside down. Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly.